With me now is the presidential candidate, Ron DeSantis. Not a lot of sleep last night. He's with me in California now. And, sir, wanted to squeeze you in here, get your reaction to the events of last night. However, I want to begin with the hearing that we have right now on the president. Do you support the investigation into President Biden and his son?
Absolutely. This family is potentially the most corrupt presidential family in history. Joe Biden's already lied about the business dealings. We know that. We now see $250,000 going to Biden's address from China. So this stinks to high heaven. They're right to do it, and I support it. I would also point out that, when you talk about things like impeachment, one of the things is just violating your oath of office. And I look at what's happening at the southern border. He took an oath to support and defend the Constitution, make sure that the laws are faithfully executed, and he has absolutely defaulted on that obligation, and we see the carnage that's happened. So I think there's a whole host of things to look at, but certainly this corruption is real. They need to produce the goods, of course, but where there's smoke, there's fire. And here's the thing: if all this was on the up and up, I don't think he would have been lying about it for all these years.
Well, we'll see how Republicans go during this hearing. Let's talk about last night quickly, okay? I thought one of your better moments was the top of the second hour when you were talking about education and your experience in Florida as governor. And then you went into what I think many would consider a rare moment. You talked about your military service. Watch here.
Had a lot of opportunities to make money, but I wanted to serve. And I'll never forget coming back on the plane from Iraq, landing in Coronado, California, North Island, and feeling that breeze off the Pacific Ocean and say, you know what? I am lucky to have been born an American, and I think being able to serve, and I'll be the first president elected since 1988 who's actually served overseas in a war.
Governor, the reason I wanted to play that is because some Republicans have been critical of you because they believe you lack a bit of a personal touch. But that answer was different. Why'd you go there?
Well, Bill, I think sometimes people want to know more about you. Now, my view on typically running, I want to tell you what I'm going to do for you. But when you're in a presidential situation, people kind of want to know what drives you. And, I just pointed out I was a blue collar kid working minimum wage jobs. I ended up getting degrees from Yale and Harvard Law School, come out more conservative than when I went. I had a lot of opportunities to do very well financially. And coming from blue collar roots, I think most people would have took that. But I felt the obligation to serve. I left a lot of money on the table, but being able to wear the uniform, volunteering to go to Iraq, it's an important part of who I am. And I think as commander-in-chief, it will inform my judgments about how to do it. And then it was just interesting being back in California, where that was where we had deployed from, and that's where we came back. And so it brought back a lot of old memories. We actually did an event on Sunday night at the VFW in Coronado. So we had a lot of great veterans, and people are appreciative to have a veteran running for office.
Let me try and squeeze in a few more before we get back to this hearing. In debate number one back in Milwaukee, you didn't go after Donald Trump, but last night you did. Why?
Well, he's missing in action, Bill. This is something you have to earn. Nobody is entitled to this. I remember back in 2020, I had a big party in Tallahassee for that first debate that Trump did with Biden. And the reality is Biden beat Trump in that debate. Biden, and I don't know how you could lose to Biden in a debate, but that happened. And so we're in a situation now where we're not getting a mulligan on the 2024 election. We've had 3 election cycles in a row as Republicans where we've underperformed. Not in Florida. We set the standard in Florida. We got to get this right. We see the country's in decline. We can't just be content with managing this decline. We've got to reverse it. We need an American revival. I think what we've shown in Florida is that it is possible to do. President Reagan was somebody, when he came in, because we were at his library, people said it couldn't be done. We're in an era of limits, that the Carter performance was basically optimal at that point for America. Ronald Reagan rejected that, and I'm rejecting that here right now, and I have the ability to get the job done. So he owes it to the voters to defend his record, to defend the decisions he's made, and also to defend why is he running on the same program in 2016 that he did not actually implement. For example, draining the swamp. He didn't fire Christopher Wray. He didn't fire Anthony Fauci. He didn't do anything to clean house. Now, all of a sudden, he's going to slay the administrative state when he gave Fauci an award his last day in office. What about all the spending and debt? They racked up massive amounts of debt, particularly in his last year in office. Of course, you're going to end up leading to inflation when you do that. So I think on issue after issue, he owes it to the voters to come out and do it. And I'd say the final thing, Bill, he's had a lot to say about me on social media, really since 2022, right before the midterm election. He started attacking me when we all Republicans were supposed to be united for a red wave. No, he tried to attack me and has been doing it a lot. You know, it's one thing to do it behind a keyboard. Step up on stage and do it to my face. I'm ready for it. You used to say I was a great governor. Now all of a sudden you're saying the opposite. Let's have that discussion, and I'll do it. We could do it one-on-one. I was with Sean last night. Let's do that, and let's give the American people the choice that they deserve.
You may not get that opportunity. I'm not sure if he's going to participate in any of these primary debates, but we'll see. You saw the polling numbers in this past weekend from NBC and ABC. You know what the reality is. You trail him in some cases significantly. I've heard you speak.
Yeah, but that's when you get into these early states, Bill, it's very fluid, and you've seen this. You talk about those polls. They say 20% are definite Trump, 35% in Iowa are definitely not, and the rest are considering Trump or others. And so you can look at a poll, but a lot of these voters are just now starting to pay attention. So the idea that you take a poll in September and then you disenfranchise the voters' ability to make their choices, I can tell you this, in Iowa and New Hampshire, those voters expect you to show up. They expect you to participate in the process, and I think he's running a risk for his candidacy by not doing it. Obviously, he'd be running a risk by getting on the stage because it's not been something he's been willing to do. But you owe it to the voters to get up there and defend your record.
I've heard about your strategy in Iowa. You're trying to get to all 99 counties, and that should happen sometime this fall. Let's see when that does happen. On foreign policy, I've listened to your some of the positions you have taken. But however, on Ukraine, last night you said there should be no blank checks. As you're aware, there's a debate within the Republican Party, especially in the House now, about how much aid should go to this current war. When you say no blank checks, are you suggesting that there is support on your behalf for those Republicans who think we should pull back from the aid that we're giving to Ukraine?
Well, as I understand, a lot of those Republicans, they're making the point of, how do you do that while ignoring these massive problems here at home, for example, with our own southern border? And I also think an issue that was kind of raised last night, we didn't get to flush out, is Biden's policy is basically Europe first. He is not doing what he needs to do to deter China in the Indo-Pacific. He will say, and some of the people on the stage will say, that the way you deter China is to continue Ukraine indefinitely, basically a blank check. I actually think China would benefit from a multi-year quagmire. I think we need to bring that war in Europe to a conclusion, but we have to do more in the Indo-Pacific. We don't have adequate hard power. So if somebody like Xi Jinping is looking at a Taiwan amphibious invasion, he's going to calculate what the resistance is. And if we have a strategy of denying him an ability to do that, successful deterrent strategy, that is going to make all the difference over the course of the next decade. Okay. So my approach to national security is going to be take the China threat as the preeminent threat, make sure we're doing what we need to do to deter them in Asia, and then work with the European allies to get a sustainable peace in Europe. But they should be doing more than they have done. We have done an awful lot, and that's just the reality. But how do you leave your own border wide open? You know, there are Russians coming in across the southern border right now. There are Iranians. There are Chinese coming across the southern border.
Hey, you can watch this story live
but they
on
have
TV
to. They have to deal with their own country first.
Yeah.
But what we have to, I think what Americans are frustrated with is you have a ruling elite in D.C. that constantly ignore their concerns and the things that they care about. And I think this border issue is one of those where they don't care about that, but they're willing to hotline stuff all across the world. And so let's make sure we're taking care of our own folks first. And as president, on day one, we will get the border. It'll be a front burner issue, and people are not going to have to worry about my commitment to that.
Okay, we took a lot of time here away from that hearing, but I appreciate your time today, sir. You may not get your one-on-one with Donald Trump, but you will get a one-on-one with Governor Gavin Newsom. So that's coming up in
And
several
people
weeks
can
now.
go and keep tabs with us. Just go to RonDeSantis.com. We'd love to keep you posted on the Newsom debate and all the other things we're doing for the campaign. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. We'll see you down the road. Back